Alright, how do I do one of these things? One of the issues people are having with Raiden Shogun, Ball, whatever you want to call her, is that her burst and Beidou's burst don't work together. Alright, so here I'm gonna burst with Beidou. I'm gonna burst with Raiden Shogun. And as you can see here, only one instance of Electro, meaning Beidou's ult isn't proccing at all. And if I don't have my burst up, Beidou's ult procs as normal. Once every, 1 second-ish? Yeah, so completely normal. So the main issue people have with Raiden Shogun is that, why does Xingqiu's burst work, but Beidou's burst doesn't? And that's because they don't trigger from the same source. While Beidou's burst requires you to actually deal damage with your normal attacks to actually proc, Xingqiu's burst doesn't. It just triggers when you actually left click. As you can see here, I'm not even hitting her with my normal attack, but Xingqiu's burst still locks on and deals Hydra damage. And it even works out of combat. Torn to oblivion. The difference between Beidou's burst and Xingqiu's burst is really the same difference as Shimenao's Reminiscence, the artifact set, and the Sacrificial Weapon series. The Sacrificial Weapon series, if you didn't know, can reset your elemental skill when your elemental skill deals damage. That means that if your elemental skill doesn't hit anything, it doesn't reset. You have to actually deal damage to the enemy using your skill in order to actually reset it, which is similar to how Beidou's burst works. Shimenao's Reminiscence, though, doesn't require you to actually hit anything with it. All you have to do is cast your elemental skill, and it boosts your attack if you have 15 or more energy. In the same way that Xingqiu's burst, you don't actually have to hit anything in order to trigger it. So why does this matter? Why can't they just make Raiden Shogun interact the same with Beidou's burst as well as Xingqiu's burst? Well, that's because, despite what everyone says, she's working fine. Raiden Shogun's actually not broken. It's actually technically Beidou's fault that she can't proc. And the problem is, in order to get Beidou to actually proc with Raiden Shogun, you have to actually kind of give her a little buff. Make her burst work the same way that Xingqiu's burst works. So if you use your normal attack, if you don't even hit them, it'll still lock on an attack, which was actually a pretty big buff because one of her constellations makes it so that her burst deals damage to multiple enemies and I think multiple instances also. But let's be honest, Beidou's a 4-star and she's a pretty good 4-star already, so I don't believe miHoYo would actually buff a 4-star, especially a 4-star that's actually already really good right now. There's two other ways that they could fix this issue, or issue in quotes. And one of them is to make Xingqiu's burst only proc when your normal attacks deal damage, which is a nerf, let's be honest here. And while that may solve the inconsistency issue, I don't think it'll make people happy. The second way, and probably the most least likely of the two, is to actually nerf Raiden Shogun's interaction with Emblem of Severed Fate. Make her burst be considered normal attack damage instead of elemental burst damage. I don't think very many people, especially in the whale community, would be too happy for that. There doesn't seem to be a way to have Beidou's burst work with Raiden Shogun's burst in a way that doesn't buff Beidou, or without adding a specific exception for Beidou's burst that allows it to work with Raiden Shogun's burst. However, I do believe that buffing Beidou wouldn't be a bad thing. And if that's all it takes to make people happy, then I believe miHoYo should do it. Will it make Beidou stronger than she is now? Yeah, of course it will. But I don't see how making a strong unit stronger in a PvE game is going to make the player's experience worse. Now, there are other issues that people bring up when someone talks about inconsistencies in Genshin, and one of them is how Klee's bombs from her skill can be picked up by all Anemo characters' abilities, minus Zhao and Sayu, but Venti's burst doesn't. I don't have clear Venti, so I personally can't look into this, but it's inconsistencies like this that rub people the wrong way. And it's understandable. If Mihoyo made it so that Klee's bombs couldn't be picked up by any Anemo character, then maybe people wouldn't notice too much, and it wouldn't be an issue. And if Xingqiu's burst didn't work with Raiden Shogun's burst, then maybe people wouldn't really care that Beidou's burst doesn't work either. However, people do care. And that's why I think that instead of asking Mihoyo to buff the Raiden Shogun, we should instead be asking them to buff Beidou. But I also think that maybe Mihoyo should buff the weaker units first.